gates are low. If this trend continues, what will the financial situation be like at the end of the season? Can the club withstand this loss of revenue through the turnstiles, or do you think further cutbacks might be necessary?
Well, I think we just have to run it as a business, and for the fans who come regularly, thank you so much, because we rely on you. But the worry for those fans and for me is that if more of you don't start coming, the fickle ones don't start coming, and the ones who just pick and choose, or the ones who for whatever reason decide they don't want to come anymore, that is a huge problem for us. We are struggling. We are struggling to maintain league football in this town on the crowds that we have, and it will become a spiral, because if the crowds go down, it means we've got less money to invest in the squad, results get poorer, crowds go down. How do you get out of that spiral without some significant inward investment coming? Now, we haven't got significant inward investment coming at the moment. We've been fortunate to have some in the past. We've been fortunate to have cup runs, which have helped. But ultimately, I've always said this: whatever club, ultimately they will end up in a league which is commensurate with what their crowds are. Now, it's no coincidence that the clubs that, generally speaking, get relegated out of this league are the clubs with the lowest crowds. And you look at that, obviously exceptions with Bristol Rovers, which is just bad management, frankly. So, our crowds aren't in bottom 3 or 4 or 5, but they're not great. And if the people at Cheltenham, Gloucestershire don't want a football league club, then they don't have to have one, because frankly they won't have one if gates end up going down to 2,000 and 1,500. So I know it's a problem we've got to address, but actually the people of Gloucestershire have also got to help by coming along and supporting their local team, and not toddling off and watching Man United at Old Trafford and paying a huge amount of money for it, or sitting at home or going down the pub. Come and watch real football at Wadden Road and support your local team. I mean, lots of us just love the passion of supporting our local team.
Have you ever considered switching the home and away fans around? Because a lot of fans have said they'd rather watch from the Hazelwoods than the...
Yeah, I mean, I would. We did seriously look at that. I think one of the main problems we have at the moment is the logistics of where the away fans arrive at the ground, and I think it would be difficult at the moment to switch that. I also know that some home fans, like to stand, and therefore wouldn't want to pay the higher money to sit in the Hazelwoods. Nevertheless, the Hazelwoods view is absolutely exceptional. The noise that comes out of that stand is fantastic, so the atmosphere in there is really, really good. And I think with some talks that we're having at the moment with the council, which we talked about earlier on, there may well be an opportunity to deal with the logistical side of that, and in which case it would be down for the fans, us to talk to the fans through the focus groups and through the Robbins Trust, to talk to the fans and see whether we could actually put the home fans in the Hazelwoods, and provide them with standing accommodation on the paddock and in the tunnel, or possibly part of the Bristol Street Motor Stand. So there's something we can look at there, and that's something I would like to look at.
Will the street lights by Parklands be mended?
Well, I'm not quite sure that's anything to do with Cheltenham Town Football Club, and I didn't know they were out. And if that person can email me back and say exactly where they are actually in the Wyman's Road, or are they actually within the Parklands complex? If it's in the Wyman's Road, I can obviously get onto the council. We can get that sorted out.
Okay. Premium matches, the complaint about premium matches really saying they create negative publicity. I mean, you said earlier it haven't been a great success. Do you think? We looked at the Northampton game, which was the premium game, and actually we did get the crowd wrong. It wasn't as low as we thought. It was about 260 more than that. So it's still a disappointing crowd, but nothing like as worrying as I thought. I'm not sure how much we can judge it on that game, because obviously as we talked earlier, it clashed with the races. I don't think it impacted at all on how many people Northampton brought. I think they still bought over 500, which actually, if you look at how many they bought in previous years, it's probably equal or actually higher than they bought previously. So, as I said again, we keep coming back really to crowds, to revenue, to pricing, and the premium games are one of the things that we introduced some years ago to stop us having to increase the prices for home fans throughout the season. I think it's been a success. I do accept that £23 to sit in the Hazelwoods or the Thompson Bank stand to watch a premium game is quite expensive. We have more expenses for premium games. We argue more stewards and more police, so there was a genuine reason for that. But the bottom line reason for that is to generate more revenue from those high-profile games. And until we can come up with an alternative to make up for that lost revenue, if we cancel the premium games, I don't know what we do. It's not unusual for clubs to categorise games into A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, and that's really, we call them premium games, but actually they're just they're like a category A game as opposed to a category B game.
What are the club doing to try and attract new investment onto the board?
What can we do? I mean, we talk to people. I put things in my program notes. I do interviews with you. I think I did one recently about asking for people who are interested in joining the board, come and talk to me, interested in investing in the club, come and talk to me. It's interesting that the two significant investors we've had probably in the last 10 years, one came entirely out of the blue, someone I'd never known about, didn't even live in the country, and rang me up. The other person happened to be someone who was sitting in the Interbrin stand at the time. I was a local person, and we approached him. So I don't know the wealth of the people that watch this club. There may well be somebody who sits in the Johnson Bank stand now, who's got the money and the ability and the time to invest in this football club. So I'd appeal to any of our existing supporters who have got that access to funds, who would like to invest in the football club and get involved at director level, to contact me. They know somebody who would like to do that. But apart from that, apart from shouting about it as I'm trying to do, it's all part of increasing the profile of the club as well. Perhaps that's the way we need to be doing it too. We did have a potential investor on board in the close season, but we just didn't feel it was right. That person wanted complete control of the football club, and that's something that we just weren't comfortable with.
Have you considered linking up with multinational local companies such as GE?
Well, we do talk to these companies. GE, we do have a relationship with GE. They use our conferencing facilities on a regular basis. Obviously, Colomara, a huge international company, they're our main sponsor. So we do work with these companies. But what you find with these companies is that the people who control the purse strings, generally speaking, don't live or aren't based anywhere near Cheltenham, and therefore have no real knowledge of the local setup. We're very fortunate with Cola that there is a degree of local autonomy, something like that, where they're able to have that ability and to make recommendations to their board in the States, and hence that's come about. But we go to business meetings, we talk to big companies, we talk to a couple at the start of the season. It's increasingly difficult though now to get business to I say invest in football, because there are so many other calls upon their funding, charitable charities or rugby or racing or whatever it is. And obviously we're still going through a relatively tough time in terms of the economy. It's getting better, and I think as the economy gets better, I'm hopeful that we'll see a bigger intake in commercial hospitality and that sort of stuff. But I think we need to work. University of Gloucestershire is a huge local business, and we need to perhaps improve our links with them at all levels. But we can't do it all, and we need people to help us. And if there are fans out there, again, we need the fans to help us. If you work for a company, if you're a corporate company, and speak to someone there and ask if they'd be interested, and we can come along. I can bring them down to a game as my guest. And increasingly, what we are doing is bringing along a sort of key local business people to matches as boardroom guests, just to introduce them to the football club, introduce them to the directors, and they can see what actually happens on match day and try and warm them to it. And we've done that virtually every home game this year. We've had people on board who, some may have a small connection with the club, some may have no connection at all, and that way we want them to warm them, get to know us. So once you get to know people, you've got far more chance of being able to do something.
What are your views on 4G pitches? Do you think they should be used in the Football League?
I haven't got a view on that. I personally, I must admit, I haven't watched football on 4G, Sir John, so I'm talking off the top of my head. I actually quite like I quite like grass and mud and sliding tackles and that, and you may well get that on 4G. I don't know. I know they're incredibly expensive to put in, but I know that they can generate revenue for you. And in the same way that we're generating revenue with Gloucester City sharing our pitch, which has been significant for us. Clearly, if we had a 4G artificial pitch, that pitch could be used 24/7 almost. But when I look at the prices, I just don't see how ever we're going to be able to get it, not without doing some significant partnership with a local university, with a local authority, and getting significant funding. So I think at the moment, I'm not aware that any Football League clubs are moving that way, but obviously now the rules have changed to allow that, I think, or it might be going to a vote. I can't remember where we are with it now, but I wouldn't be averse to it. It'd be interesting to see what actually managers and players think.
If you could pick one, who's your favourite player of all time?
Favourite player of all time? One, Jamie Victory.
Okay. How long is the lease at Seasons? Are there any plans to improve the facilities there, increase the revenue you get from the facility?
Yeah, I mean, Seasons is really important for us. I think, we talk about revenue streams, and the academy is certainly something that we've got to see as a revenue stream for us. I've just seen that Courtney Doofus, who one of our young lads from Hester's Way, sold into Everton. He's now just gone out on loan to Bury. So that just goes to show how important that is, because you already had a reasonable amount of money from Everton for him. If he can make it at Everton and play a game for Everton, that makes a huge difference to our budget, believe you me. So the academy is important. We've invested quite heavily in that. We've got a fantastic structure down there. We've had some great audit results. I think our facilities and our management and the way we organise it down there is as good as anything in the Football League, without question. Russell Milton's done a fantastic job, and John Murphy too. But going forward, the situation at the moment is we've got a meeting with Zurich, who actually obviously own the facility. Meeting with Zurich next week to talk about the future, how they see the future of Seasons, and how we see the future. I think, and everyone will know that, or everyone may not know, that Cheltenham is currently going through a joint core strategy planning process where we're trying to identify housing land for the next 30 years. Because there's such huge demand to build houses in Cheltenham, and because it can only go on the Hampton and Swindon Village side of town due to the Cotswold Scarp, there is going to be a lot of house building going on down that area in the fullness of time, and I've got no doubt at all that the Seasons one day will be a housing estate, and I think Zurich will be aware of that. I think that's somewhere away yet, so what I'm hoping is that we'll be able to agree a decent extension on lease with Zurich, carry on improving that facility in a modest way. But in terms of the funding of Seasons now, it's almost, not completely, but it's almost becoming self-funding, because we've got it under our sole control now. We've been able to get commercial tenants in there, so that is helping subsidise the cost of our first team training facility and our academy.